Alrighty, let's take a look at this question. So we have a satellite launched into orbit, and it moves north and south of the equator. Now, a very important little sentence in there is that the equator is used as the horizontal axis, which means if we're above the x-axis, we're north of the equator, and below we'd be south of the equator. Okay, so that will come into play in a minute. And then it says 12 minutes after it's launched, it reaches the farthest point north of the equator, and the distance north or south so they give us the equation, right? Now, in order to graph this on our calculator, we need to get our window settings. That's probably the hardest thing. So to get our maximum y value, so y max, we would take our d value, which in this case is actually 0 because there's no plus anything. So our d value minus the amplitude, which in this case would be 0 minus 5,000. So our y, sorry, that would be our minimum. So d plus the amplitude for our maximum. So 5,000 would be our maximum. So when you do your window settings, y max should be at least 5,000. You could go 6,000 just to make sure you see the top of the graph. And then y min would be d minus the amplitude, and the amplitude is at 5,000 in front of cos again, and d is still 0, so we would get negative 5,000. All right, so it's going to go as low as negative 5,000. And again, so y min, you can make negative 5,000 or negative 6,000, whatever you like, something in there. Okay, now that's our vertical window settings. Horizontally, we could get our period pretty easily from that equation. Our period is equal to 2 pi, yes, we're in radians because there's no degree symbol, divided by our b value. And b value is this pi over 35. So we would go 2 pi divided by 35, which could be changed to 2 pi times the reciprocal, since we're dividing by a fraction. And the pi's could cancel because one on top, one on the bottom, and you get 70. So basically 70 minutes would be our period. So if you wanted to see one cycle, then we could just go 70 as our x max. If you wanted to see more than one, then you'd probably make that, like if 2 cycles, you make that 140, 70 times 2. So let's go 140 just so we can see 2 cycles. And then let's graph that. Now, when you do that, you're probably going to get a graph kind of like, let's see if I can figure this out here. So 140, kind of like that. So it's going to look essentially something like this. So it's 70. Now that might not be exactly right, but it's close. Okay, so that's close to what our graph looks like. Now let's see if we can answer part A of this question. It says, how far north or south of the equator is the launch site? So usually with these follow-up questions, they're either giving you the x value, or in this case t value, and asking for y, or in this case d, or the other way around. So when they said launch site, it would be launched at time equals 0. So we're looking for this point on the graph. And you could get that by just going trace and typing 0. And you should get, so the answer to A should be 236 to the nearest kilometer, 2369 kilometers. And that would be north, because they said how far north or south. How do you know if it's north or south? If it's negative, meaning below the x-axis, it's going to be south, because they said the equator would be the x-axis, the horizontal axis. Okay, part B is the satellite north or south after 20 minutes. So again, if you go trace and type 20 for x, you would get a positive, so therefore north, 3765 kilometers north. Alrighty, now part C, now they're asking for the t value or the x value, and they're giving us 2,500 kilometers south. So that means our y in y2 we need to put negative, because it's south, 2500, and then that line should show up somewhere in here going across, and they want to know when it will first be at that, so we're looking for this point here. So you would do second calc intersect, and they want it to the nearest tenth of a minute. Let's see if I can get that. So that would be about 35.3, I believe. So the answer to part C would be after 35.3, and that unit would be minutes from the launch time. And there we go. So I hope that helped.